Hello students, nice to see you once again. Hope you listened to my previous classes. Today we are going to learn an interesting and a simple topic, factors affecting second language acquisition. As teachers of English as second language, we often see that some of the students learn the language more quickly and easily than others. Maybe because they are more hardworking, more persistent. But there are certain crucial factors that are largely beyond the control of the learner, factors that influence language learning. Today we are going to see some of these factors. The factors can be classified into two: learner factors and environmental factors. In today's class, we are going to see the learner factors. Shall we begin? The first factor that we are going to see today is the age of the learner. Does the age of the learner affect second language acquisition? Research in this area has not been conclusive but has remained controversial because there are certain areas of language learning where adults are more proficient than children, and there are others where children excel the adults. Adults are already familiar with the language system. They know what a language is made up of: sounds, letters, words, syntax, spelling, pronunciation, etc. They are also familiar with the basic rules of grammar. Moreover, they are cognitively more mature than children. Therefore, they attain proficiency in the foreign language faster than little children. But adults are often affected by the pull of the mother tongue when it comes to pronunciation. At the same time, children are more successful as far as pronunciation is concerned. Children have flexible vocal organs, are curious by nature and sensitive to the spoken form of language, and are therefore more successful as far as pronunciation is concerned. Gender of the learner is another factor that affects second language acquisition. A good number of studies found that gender can have a significant effect on how students learn a language. Studies show that girls display better abilities in learning a language than boys. Studies have found that female students outperform males as they are more open to new linguistic forms in the target language than their male counterparts. Next comes intelligence. Intelligence also plays an important role in language learning. According to the multiple intelligence theory of Howard Gardner, there are different types of intelligences. Verbal linguistic intelligence has to do with both spoken and written forms of language. People with verbal linguistic intelligence learn languages very easily as they have high verbal memory and an ability to understand, recall, and manipulate syntax and structure. They are typically good at reading, writing, telling stories, and memorizing words. They tend to learn best by reading, taking notes, listening to lectures, and through discussion and debate. They are also frequently skilled at explaining, teaching, and oration or persuasive speaking. Thus, intelligence also, to a certain extent, decides the language acquisition of the learner. The next factor is the aptitude of the learner. What do you mean by aptitude? It refers to the potential of an individual. It is inborn. The ability to learn languages is to a great extent innate. The aptitude to learn languages consists of four independent abilities. They are: first, phonetic coding ability. That is the ability to perceive and memorize new sounds. We know language is made up of sounds, and every language has its own sound system. The second one is grammatical sensitivity. That's the ability to demonstrate awareness of the syntactic patterning of sentences of a language. The next ability is the rote learning ability. Language learning involves rote learning, that is, learning by heart. We learn the association between sounds and meanings by rote. Rote learning ability, therefore, means the ability to learn association between sounds and meanings rapidly. And the next ability is inductive ability. Inductive ability is the ability to notice and identify similarities and differences in grammatical forms and meaning. For example, the ability to identify the difference between the past form and the past perfect form of a sentence. Also, the ability to detect the similarity between the spellings of the verb sing when it is in the past form and when it is in the past participle form. Next, we have attitude. Attitude refers to the mindset of the learner. If the learner has a positive attitude towards the speakers of a particular language, he will learn the language faster. In a typical language situation, there are a number of people whose attitudes to each other can be significant. For example, the attitude of the learner towards the teacher, the attitude of the teacher towards the learner, the attitude of the learner's peers among themselves, the attitude of the learner and the parents, and so on. Next comes another crucial factor that affects second language acquisition, and it is the personality disposition of the learner. A number of personal traits together make up the personality of an individual. Let's go through them. The first one is self esteem. Research has shown that the feeling of self worth influences the learner's performance significantly. That is, if a learner thinks well of himself, he also learns better. This is the same in the case of language acquisition. The second trait is extroversion. We often see people around us, extroverts. Extroverts, they catch language faster. They speak the language in a more fluent way. It is generally believed that extroverts are better language learners than introverts. This may be due to the fact that extroverts find it easier to make contact with other language users, second language users, and consequently obtain more input. Anxiety is another personality trait. Language learning is also affected by the anxiety level of the learners. Anxiety could result in either positive or negative results. We have facilitating anxiety, anxiety that helps the learner to face the challenge of the new task successfully. That is, we need a little bit of anxiety to work hard, to achieve, to succeed. Also, there is debilitating anxiety. Anxiety that discourages the learner and forces them to avoid the learning task. That is too much of anxiety. Too much of anxiety paralyzes the learner. What we need is facilitating anxiety. And the last personality trait is risk. The risk taking behavior is a quality of good language learners. Good language learners take risks in different ways. They make guesses, they are not ashamed of making mistakes and appearing foolish in the process of trying to communicate. Next, we have cognitive style. It is observed that students in the same class differ in their academic achievement. They do not learn in the same way. One of the reasons for this is the fact that they do not process the information presented in the class in the same way. This is due to several factors. One of the major factors is the cognitive style of the students. The processing of the input received in the classroom depends on the cognitive style of each student. Cognitive style or thinking style is a term used in cognitive psychology to describe the way individuals think, perceive, and remember information, or their preferred approach to using such information to solve problems. It is to be remembered that cognitive style differs from cognitive ability or cognitive level. Cognitive ability is measured by aptitude tests or intelligence tests. Cognitive style, when applied in learning, is called learning style. There are several theories related to learning style. One of the popular ones is the VARK learning style or the WARK learning style theory put forth by Neil Fleming. According to the theory, learners can be classified into four based on their learning styles. WARK is an acronym that refers to the four learning styles: visual, auditory, reading or writing, and kinesthetic. WARK is focused on the idea that students retain and process information differently and have preferred learning modes that allow them to learn their best. Let's go into the details of the WARK learning style theory. According to the theory, visual learners prefer or learn better when information is presented in the form of maps, charts, graphs, flowcharts, labeled diagrams, etc. Auditory or oral learners have a preference for information that is heard or spoken, such as lectures, group discussion, radio telecasts, mobile phones, etc. Reading and writing style of learners understand better when information is displayed as words and text-based input and output. This includes all forms, but especially manuals, reports, essays, and assignments. The kinesthetic learners prefer gathering information through experience and practice, simulated or real, either through concrete personal experiences or simulation. It also includes demonstrations, simulations, videos, movies, etc. Thus, we see language acquisition is also influenced by the cognitive style of the learners. Also, it is to be noted that if the instructional style, that is the teaching style of the teacher, matches the cognitive style of the learner, learning will be a pleasure. On the other hand, if there is an incompatibility between the two, there will be anxiety, lack of confidence, demotivation, all of which will affect the learning process adversely. In theory, there exist as many learning styles as there are learners, and the practical implications of all learning styles for teaching learning interaction are numerous. The last factor that we are going to see is motivation. Motivation refers to a general orientation to the goal of learning a second language. When it comes to second language acquisition, there are two types of motivation: integrative and instrumental. Integrative motivation is when the learner tries to identify himself or herself with the culture of the second language group. An instrumental motivation, on the other hand, occurs when the learners learn the second language for specific functions like passing an examination or improving their career prospects. The sources of motivation can be intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic motivation arises from within the learner himself. His personal needs of attaining success in the examination, securing a good job, his love and interest for the language, etc., motivate him to learn the second language. Extrinsic motivation is the urge of the learner to learn a language out of some external factors. For example, the teacher's encouragement, support, inspiration, etc. These move him to learn the second language. Intrinsic motivation is superior to extrinsic motivation. Thus, we have come to the end of the topic. Let's sum up. Several factors affect second language acquisition. Today, we saw the learner factors, that is, factors related to the learners as a person. They were the age of the learner, gender, intelligence, attitude, aptitude, cognitive style, personality disposition, and motivation. As teachers of second language, we should be aware of these crucial factors that affect our students' learning of second language. Shall we have a follow up activity? Try to answer the following questions. What are the learner factors affecting second language acquisition? Explain the personal factors that influence the second language learner. Write a short note on the personality traits of a good second language learner. How does motivation influence second language acquisition? How does the cognitive style of the learner affect language learning? I hope I was clear to you. Thank you.